Earth's skies had been dark for years. Beneath the cloud-covered horizon, humanity lived in the shadow of the Galactic Council, a vast, powerful empire that controlled half the galaxy. The Council ruled with an iron fist, and Earth was no exception. For decades, Earth's leaders had been subjugated by alien overlords, forced to comply with impossible demands and constant surveillance. The humans had long lost their freedom, their resources drained to fuel the endless expansion of the Galactic Council. But amid the oppressive darkness, something was stirring deep beneath the surface. In a secret underground facility hidden beneath the mountains of Colorado, a group of scientists and military leaders gathered around an artifact, an ancient object discovered in the ruins of a human city buried deep within Earth's crust. No one knew exactly what it was, but it was unlike anything humanity had ever seen before. The artifact radiated a strange energy, pulsating with a power that seemed to defy all understanding. Dr. Amelia Drake, a brilliant scientist and one of the leading experts on the artifact, had been working on unlocking its secrets for months. Drake's fingers hovered over the controls of a large console as she studied the artifact in front of her. The glowing object hummed softly, its energy flowing into the room. It was a mystery, a relic from a time long before the Galactic Council's rise to power. But Drake had a theory. If the artifact could be activated, it could potentially give Earth the weapon it needed to fight back against the Council. She wasn't sure how, but her instincts told her this was humanity's last chance. Commander Harris, who had been overseeing the military operations to defend Earth, stood beside her. His face was set in a grim expression. "Are you sure about this, Dr. Drake?" he asked, his voice low and filled with concern. "The Council's fleet is on its way. If this artifact doesn't work—" Drake interrupted him, her voice steady despite the weight of the situation. "We don't have a choice, Commander. If we don't activate it now, we won't survive the invasion. Earth will be lost. This artifact could be our only shot at winning." The room fell silent as everyone waited for her to make the final decision. The scientists and military officers gathered in the room knew the risks, but they also understood that if Earth was to have any hope, they had to take this chance. The last remaining resources were being siphoned off by the Council, leaving the humans with nothing but desperation and a burning desire to fight back. If the artifact could do what Drake believed it could, it would be their salvation. With a deep breath, Dr. Drake pressed the button that would activate the artifact. The energy within the room surged. A pulse of light exploded from the object, flooding the room with a brilliant, otherworldly glow. The soldiers and scientists backed away, shielding their eyes as the artifact's power intensified. For a moment, it felt like time itself had stopped. Then, the power surged outward, expanding far beyond the facility and into the atmosphere. Above the Earth, in the vastness of space, a shockwave of energy radiated outward from the planet. The Galactic Council's ships in orbit detected it almost immediately. Their advanced sensors, designed to monitor every inch of space around Earth, picked up the anomaly. The sudden burst of energy was unlike anything they had ever seen. Back in the command center of the Galactic Council's fleet, Soreth, the supreme commander of the Council, stared at the readout on his display. His icy eyes narrowed as he studied the data. "What is this?" he muttered, his voice filled with disbelief. "This surge of energy, it's coming from Earth." Soreth's second-in-command, General Torkith, leaned over his shoulder, studying the readings as well. "It's unlike any technology we've encountered. The humans are activating something. But what?" Soreth clenched his fists. "It doesn't matter. Earth's rebellion has always been a nuisance, but this is something new. Send a message to all fleet commanders. We're accelerating the invasion. Prepare to neutralize the humans immediately." Soreth's command ship began to move forward, its engines roaring to life as the rest of the fleet followed suit. They were on their way to Earth. The Council had grown tired of the humans' defiance, and now they would crush them once and for all. On Earth, Dr. Drake stood frozen in place as she watched the energy from the artifact spread across the globe. It was more powerful than she had ever imagined. But in that moment, as the lights flickered and the hum of the artifact began to subside, she realized something chilling. The energy she had unleashed hadn't just affected the Earth. It had sent a signal. It was as if the artifact had called out to something in the vastness of space, something much larger and more dangerous than the Galactic Council. Dr. Drake. Commander Harris's voice interrupted her thoughts. The artifact. What have we done? We've just alerted them to our position. Drake's heart skipped a beat. She had been so focused on the potential of the artifact that she hadn't considered the full implications of what she was doing. The Galactic Council was now aware of Earth's resistance, and they would respond with unimaginable force. We've just given them a reason to come for us, she said quietly. But it's too late to turn back now. We have to prepare. As the hours passed, the energy surge from Earth's artifact continued to expand. But now it was a beacon, calling the Council's fleet to Earth. The invasion was inevitable. But what the Council didn't realize was that the artifact wasn't just a weapon. It was the key to unlocking humanity's hidden potential. Earth's fury had been unleashed, and the Council had no idea what was coming for them. Dr. Drake and Commander Harris turned toward the massive display screen in front of them. The Earth fleet was already being mobilized. There was no going back. They were out of time. But in that moment, a quiet resolve settled over them. Humanity would not go down without a fight. And far above, in the cold expanse of space, the Galactic Council's warships moved toward Earth. The Council thought they were on the brink of crushing humanity once and for all. They had no idea that the artifact's true power was only just beginning to awaken. The first sparks of rebellion had been lit, and Earth was about to take the fight to the stars. As the fleet drew closer, the tension was palpable. The countdown had begun, and the fate of Earth was now in the hands of those who dared to challenge the might of the Galactic Council. The storm was coming, and it would take everything humanity had to serve as the Galactic fleet approached. The situation on Earth grew ever more tense. The skies above Earth crackled with the electric energy of the artifact's power. The shockwave it had sent out had drawn the attention of the Council, and their massive warships were on a direct course toward the planet. The Council had underestimated humanity for far too long. But now things were different. Earth had something they didn't expect. An unexpected force, hidden beneath the surface, now ready to be unleashed. Inside the command center, Dr. Amelia Drake worked tirelessly, analyzing the energy patterns emitted by the artifact. It was clear that this was not just some ancient relic. It was something far more complex. The artifact's energy was not just a weapon. It was alive. There was a presence within it, something alien, something beyond human understanding. Dr. Drake had spent her entire career studying technologies from across the galaxy, but nothing had ever felt quite like this. Dr. Drake. Commander Harris's voice broke through her thoughts, urgency in his tone. The fleet's almost here. We don't have much time. Do you have any idea how this artifact is going to work? Drake looked up from the screens, her face grim. The artifact's power is still fluctuating. I don't fully understand it yet, but I believe we've only scratched the surface. It's like it's adapting, reacting to the Council's presence. We may have triggered something far more dangerous than we realized. Harris clenched his fists, frustration and fear creeping into his expression. So we're just supposed to trust it's going to save us. The Council is coming, and we have one shot to make this work. I know, Drake replied, her voice steady but uncertain. But it's our only shot. We're out of options. If we can't harness the artifact's energy, we won't survive. It's our only hope. As the Earth fleet readied itself for the impending battle, Drake's mind raced. The Council's warships were massive, overwhelming in both size and firepower. They had the technology to obliterate entire planets, and they had already wiped out countless civilizations before. But humanity wasn't like the other species they had conquered. Earth's spirit, its drive to survive, had always been humanity's strongest weapon. And now, with the artifact, it seemed they had one more tool to fight back. Across the planet, military leaders were mobilizing. Earth's defense systems, long dormant, were coming to life. Automated drones, newly powered by the artifact's energy, shot into the sky. Earth's fleet, although outnumbered, was bolstered by the newfound power coursing through their weapons. The ship's cannons hummed with a power they had never felt before. Far above in space, the first of the Galactic fleet arrived in orbit. The massive ships seemed to blot out the stars, their dark forms ominous and foreboding. Soreth, the supreme commander of the Galactic Council, was aboard the lead flyship. His cold eyes watched as his fleet prepared for the final strike on Earth. For years, the Council had quietly manipulated the Earth, controlling its resources, its governments, and its future. But now, it seemed the humans had grown a backbone. The artifact's strange energy had caught his attention, but Soreth was confident that no primitive species could stand against the might of the Galactic Council. The humans are nothing more than a nuisance, Soreth muttered to himself as he surveyed the battlefield. We'll wipe them from the galaxy, just like the others. Let them play with their toys. It won't change the outcome. The Council's fleet deployed its battalions of fighter ships, sending them hurtling toward Earth. They had come to put down the rebellion, to remind the humans that they were nothing more than ants beneath their boots. But as the ships neared Earth's atmosphere, a strange signal began to emanate from the planet. The artifact's energy flared again, but this time it was different. It wasn't just a burst, it was a focused pulse. It radiated from the surface of the planet and began to warp space around it. On the command ship, Soreth's face twisted in confusion. "What is this?" he barked. "Recalibrate the sensors. I want to know what's causing this distortion." "Sir, we're picking up an unknown energy signature," said an officer. "It's coming from the surface. This is no ordinary power source. The humans are using something. It's like a weapon, but much more advanced than anything they've ever had." Soreth's fists tightened around the console. "Activate shields. Prepare for immediate bombardment. We'll crush them before they can use whatever this is." Back on Earth, Dr. Drake watched the events unfold on the large screens in the command center. The artifact had responded to the Council's fleet, but it was not the weapon she had expected. The energy wasn't just destructive. It was pulling something from deep within the Earth. The artifact's energy signature seemed to be connected to the planet itself. It was as if Earth itself was waking up. The very soil, the air, the oceans, all were reacting to the pulse of power being channeled by the artifact. "It's happening," Dr. Drake whispered, her eyes wide with realization. The artifact, it's not just a weapon. It's calling to something. Earth is fighting back. Commander Harris stared at the screens. "What do you mean?" "I don't know, but whatever's coming is going to be far beyond what we can control. We need to prepare for the unimaginable." Suddenly, the ground beneath their feet began to tremble. The entire facility shook violently, as if the Earth itself was alive, awakening from a deep slumber. The walls of the underground base cracked, and the lights flickered. Outside, the skies began to darken as the Galactic fleet continued its descent toward Earth. But just as they were about to begin their final strike, the Earth's surface erupted in a dazzling array of light. Mountains began to shake, the oceans churned violently, and the sky above split open as the artifact's power surged to new heights. And then, in a moment of pure chaos, Earth's fury was unleashed. A massive pulse of energy shot from the planet, rippling outward like a shockwave across the stars. It hit the lead Council ship with a force that sent it spinning out of control. The ship's systems began to overload, alarms blaring as the massive vessel was torn apart by the intensity of the energy blast. The rest of the Galactic fleet watched in shock and disbelief as Earth, once thought defenseless, unleashed its might in a single blinding moment. Soreth's face went pale. "Retreat. We're under attack." But it was too late. The storm had come, and the Council was caught in its fury. The humans had finally revealed their true power, and the galaxy would never be the same again. As the first wave of destruction swept through the galactic fleet, Dr. Drake and Commander Harris shared a moment of silent understanding. The artifact had given them the power to fight back, but they knew this was just the beginning. Earth had awakened, and now the battle for survival had truly begun. The aftermath of the first shockwave had sent ripples across space and Earth. The galactic fleet, once so confident in its dominance, now lay disoriented and battered. In the chaos above, the space around Earth flickered with the residual energy of the blast, while below, humanity's resistance was beginning to rally in ways no one could have anticipated. What had once been a moment of fear and uncertainty had transformed into something else, a battle for survival. On Earth's surface, the military had been thrust into overdrive. Cities once thought to be mere remnants of the past, abandoned and forgotten, were now transformed into fortified strongholds. Nations that had been divided for centuries, forced into submission under the control of the Galactic Council, were now coming together, united in their shared struggle. The artifact had awakened something deep within humanity, a strength they never knew they had. In the command center beneath Colorado, Dr. Amelia Drake and Commander Harris stood in front of a massive holographic display, showing the extent of the damage done to the galactic fleet. Several of the fleet's lead ships had been utterly destroyed by the initial pulse, their energy shields unable to withstand the intensity of Earth's newfound power. A few smaller ships had been crippled, their movements erratic as their commanders scrambled to regain control. The remaining ships had begun to pull back, retreating from Earth's orbit in a panicked frenzy. "They're retreating," Commander Harris muttered, eyes wide with disbelief. "But why? We've only destroyed a handful of their ships. They're still a formidable force." Dr. Drake's eyes were glued to the screen, watching the shifting movements of the Council's fleet. "It's not just about the ships," she said, her voice tinged with worry. "It's about what they're feeling. The artifact. It has made Earth's power clear to them. They didn't expect this. We've shattered their sense of invulnerability." The galactic fleet had always prided itself on being the supreme force in the galaxy. They had wiped out entire civilizations with nothing but the flick of a switch. But now, for the first time, they faced an enemy that had the potential to match their might. And more troubling for Xoreth and the Council, it wasn't just Earth's military power that had been strengthened. There was something else, something unknown, that had been awakened by the artifact. As the fleet retreated, Xoreth's anger boiled over. The Supreme Commander of the Galactic Council had always prided himself on being unshakable. He had conquered worlds, crushed rebellions, and brought entire species to their knees. But Earth was different. The humans had always been beneath his notice. Until now, the artifact had given them a power that wasn't supposed to exist, and the Council had no idea how to stop it. On board his flagship, Xoreth slammed his fist onto the console in front of him. His officers jumped, startled by his outburst. "What are you waiting for?" he shouted. "Regroup the fleet. I want Earth neutralized now. Do you hear me?" His second-in-command, General Torkev, stepped forward hesitantly, his voice cautious. "Sir, the Earth is showing more resistance than we anticipated. We are dealing with an entirely new force here. If we continue as we have in the past, it will only lead to more casualties. We may need to adjust our strategy." "Adjust?" Xoreth's voice turned cold. "There is no adjusting. Earth must be destroyed, and we must do it now. We cannot allow this rebellion to spread. If the humans are allowed to develop further, they will challenge the Council for good." "But, sir," Torkath persisted, "this artifact, its energy, it's unlike anything we've encountered. The human fleet has grown stronger, and they're deploying new weaponry we haven't seen before. We cannot simply continue to underestimate them." Horus shot a glare at Torkath. He was right in one aspect. This wasn't just about Earth anymore. This was about the entire Council's hold over the galaxy. The artifact had changed everything. They were facing a new kind of threat, and it terrified Xoreth. In the cold, empty void of space, the Council's fleet began to regroup, but their confidence had been shattered. What had once seemed like an easy victory was now a much more complex challenge. Earth had awakened, and with the artifact's power surging, the humans were proving to be far more dangerous than anyone had imagined. On Earth, the energy from the artifact had begun to settle into something else, something more controlled. Dr. Drake, working alongside her team of scientists and engineers, had discovered that the artifact was not only a weapon but a conduit, a connection between Earth and something beyond the stars. It was as though the planet itself was feeding the artifact, enhancing its energy and allowing it to evolve. "I'm starting to think that the artifact isn't just reacting to the Council," Dr. Drake said, her voice thoughtful. "It's tapping into something deeper, something more ancient. The power it's harnessing, it's not just about technology. It's something far older than the Council, something buried deep within Earth." "What do you mean?" Harris asked, his brow furrowing. "Are you saying that Earth itself is powering the artifact?" "It's possible," she replied. "The artifact's energy source seems to be in harmony with Earth's own energy fields, its magnetic fields, its tectonic activity. It's as if Earth and the artifact are connected on a molecular level. Whatever the artifact is, it's not just human technology. It's been here, under the surface, for eons. And now, Earth is tapping into that." Commander Harris stared at the display, deep in thought. "So, what does this mean for the fight against the Council?" "It means," Dr. Drake said, her eyes narrowing, "that the Council is going to have a hell of a time trying to defeat us. They think they're facing a primitive species with inferior technology. But in reality, they've just provoked something ancient and powerful. And they've underestimated us. Once again." Across Earth, the energy from the artifact began to surge again, but this time, it was different. The pulse of power that had once been chaotic and destructive now began to focus. The planet's power, enhanced by the artifact, was being channeled directly into Earth's military systems. New weapons emerged from underground factories, sleek ships powered by the same energy that had disrupted the Council's fleet. These ships were fast, stealthy, and deadly. The artifact's power had unlocked a new age for humanity, one that would stand as a beacon of defiance against the Galactic Council's tyranny. Dr. Drake looked at Harris. "We've only just begun." The Galactic Council had underestimated Earth. They thought they could crush this planet's spirit with ease. But Earth wasn't just a defenseless colony anymore. Earth had risen, and with the artifact's power coursing through their veins, humanity would no longer be a footnote in the galaxy's history. The fight for survival had only just begun. As the days passed, the true extent of Earth's newfound power began to unfold. The galactic fleet had retreated, but not without leaving a lasting impression. The shockwaves sent through space had scattered their forces, but the Council, ever relentless, was not ready to give up. Their pride had been wounded, and they would return. This time, however, they knew they had to come prepared. They could not afford to underestimate Earth again. What had once been a backwater planet was now a force to be reckoned with, and the Galactic Council was scrambling to find a way to stop it. On Earth, the resistance was growing stronger by the day. Humanity had come together, united in their fight for survival. Cities that had once been divided by borders and ideologies now functioned as one cohesive unit. The military, once crippled by bureaucracy and corruption, was now a well-oiled machine. Every country on Earth had mobilized, contributing what they could to the collective effort. No one was left behind. Earth was no longer a fractured species. It had evolved, and the Galactic Council was about to face its first true challenge. In the command center, Dr. Amelia Drake and Commander Harris continued their work, refining the artifact's power. The strange energy the artifact emitted seemed to resonate with the Earth's core, creating an almost symbiotic relationship. It was as if Earth itself had been preparing for this moment, waiting for the right time to unleash its fury. "We've managed to stabilize the power output, Dr. Drake said, her fingers dancing across the holographic control panels. But we need to be careful. If we push it too far, we could risk overloading the entire system. This energy, it's not something we can fully control. Not yet. Harris leaned over her shoulder, looking at the projections. We don't have much choice. The Galactic fleet is regrouping. They'll be back soon, and when they return, we'll need everything we have. I don't care what the risks are. We have to finish this. Drake nodded slowly. She understood the stakes. If they couldn't harness the artifact's full potential, Earth would be defenseless against the next wave of attack. But something in her gut told her that the artifact was more than just a weapon. It was a key to unlocking something bigger, something beyond the reach of even the Galactic Council. What if there's more to the artifact than we realize? Drake asked, almost to herself. What if it's not just a weapon to defend us, but something that could change everything? Something that could give us an edge over the Council's entire empire? Harris didn't have an answer. All he knew was that Earth's survival depended on finding that edge. The Council had taken everything from them, and now it was time for humanity to take back control. Meanwhile, in the cold, dark reaches of space, the Galactic fleet was regrouping. Soreth, the Supreme Commander, stood before a massive holographic map of the galaxy, his eyes cold with fury. His fingers drummed impatiently on the console, his mind racing through the options available to him. We cannot let this continue, Soreth growled, his voice sharp. The humans have shown their strength, but they are still primitive. This artifact, whatever it is, will be their downfall. We will destroy them before they have a chance to build up any more resistance. His officers, standing nervously around him, knew better than to argue. They had seen what the humans were capable of now. Earth had not only survived, they had fought back, and that was something the Council could not allow. We'll send a full fleet, Soreth continued, his voice rising. This time, we won't just destroy their military. We'll obliterate their cities, leave nothing but ashes. But as Soreth plotted the destruction of Earth, something was happening that even he could not predict. The artifact's energy, once erratic, had begun to settle into a more focused form. A new pulse of power radiated from the Earth's surface, sending shockwaves through space again. But this time, it wasn't just a burst of energy. It was a signal, a message. The artifact, it seemed, was not just an energy source. It was a beacon, sending a signal into the far reaches of the galaxy, reaching out to an unknown force, something ancient, something far more powerful than the Galactic Council had ever encountered. The Council, despite their advanced technology, had no idea that they were about to face an enemy much older and more dangerous than they could ever comprehend. Back on Earth, the power surging from the artifact had reached its zenith. Dr. Drake and Harris watched as the readings on their screens began to stabilize. The energy was now so refined that it could be controlled with precision. The humans were no longer using brute force. They were using the artifact's energy to enhance their technology, to bend it to their will. The world's militaries, once hesitant to unite, had now become a singular force. New fleets, equipped with the artifact's energy, rose from the oceans and from underground bases, ready to engage the Council. Humanity had learned to harness the power of their planet, and they had done so in record time. We're ready, Harris said, his voice steady but filled with determination. It's time to take the fight to them. Drake glanced at the holographic map, showing the movement of the Galactic fleet as it neared Earth once again. They had no time to waste. The fate of Earth, and perhaps the entire galaxy, was hanging in the balance. We'll need to move quickly, she said, her voice low. The artifact's power is still growing. But if we don't strike soon, the Council will have time to regroup, and they'll be ready for us. We need to hit them now, while they're vulnerable. As the final preparations were made, the human fleet took their positions. Thousands of ships, powered by the energy of the Earth itself, prepared for battle. They were ready to face the Council head-on. And this time, it would not be a fight for survival. It would be a fight for domination. The Galactic Council had underestimated humanity before. They would do so no longer. Earth was no longer a helpless, conquered world. It was a force to be reckoned with, and the Council would soon learn that when Earth strikes back, there is no escaping the storm. In space, the Galactic fleet was closing in, unaware of the wrath that awaited them. The time for talking was over. The battle was about to begin, and Earth was ready to make its stand. The final countdown had begun. The Galactic fleet was closing in, their vast armada heading towards Earth with terrifying speed. The once proud commanders of the Council believed victory was within their grasp, but they had no idea what awaited them. Earth's defenses, now fully powered by the artifact, were ready, and humanity was prepared to unleash a fury the Council had never imagined. The air on Earth was thick with tension. Around the globe, military personnel, scientists, and civilians alike held their breath. The human race had been pushed to the brink of extinction, forced into submission, and silenced for far too long. But now, thanks to the artifact, they had a fighting chance, not just to survive, but to stand tall as an equal among the stars. In the heart of Earth's military command center, Dr. Amelia Drake and Commander Harris were overseeing the final preparations. A massive holographic display showed the movements of the Galactic fleet as it drew closer. The time for subtlety had passed. The war for Earth's future would be decided in the next few hours. Harris turned to Dr. Drake, his voice resolute. "We've come a long way. If this works, Earth will never be the same again." Dr. Drake nodded, her face pale but determined. "We've put everything we have into this. The artifact's power is fully integrated with our fleet. But this is it, Commander. Once we engage, there's no going back. If we don't win today, Earth may never see another sunrise." She was right. The stakes couldn't have been higher. The Galactic Council, with all its power and resources, was about to face something they never expected. A unified humanity, armed with the combined might of the Earth and the artifact. As the first wave of human ships launched into space, a silence fell over Earth. The warships, sleek and deadly, cut through the atmosphere, powered by the raw energy of the artifact. Every ship, every soldier, every strategist knew that the fate of the planet rested on their shoulders. No one was ready to back down. On board the flagship, Commander Harris gazed out at the dark expanse of space as the human fleet approached the Galactic Armada. Their ships, though vastly outnumbered, were more agile, more advanced. The artifact had given them the edge. The power of the Earth was now coursing through every weapon, every defense, every maneuver. In the distance, the massive shape of the Galactic fleet loomed. The ships of the Council had prepared for war, brimming with weapons and technologies that had crushed entire civilizations. But the closer they came to Earth, the more unsettled they seemed. The pulse of the artifact was now an unmistakable presence in the galaxy. It was a silent warning to the Council. Their days of unchecked dominance were over. Sorath, aboard his flagship, seethed in fury. His mind raced with frustration. How had this insignificant species, this primitive planet, found a way to harness such power? He had underestimated them. He had believed that a few tactical strikes would be enough to suppress the human resistance. But now Earth had become something entirely different, a formidable enemy. "We cannot allow this to continue," Sorath barked, his voice filled with venom. "We must crush them, now." But despite his anger, a sense of unease washed over him. Something was different about this battle. The humans weren't fighting like they were desperate. They were fighting with purpose. Sorath had never encountered an enemy like this before. The battle began in an instant. Earth's fleet, under Harris's command, struck first. The first volley of weapons unleashed from the human ships was a breathtaking spectacle. The Galactic ships, slower and more ponderous than the humans' newly enhanced vessels, struggled to adapt. The energy from the artifact surged through the human ships, allowing them to outmaneuver and outfight the Council's forces. The Galactics, once so confident, found themselves in a losing position from the very start. Laser blasts tore through space, lighting up the dark void. Ships exploded in bursts of fire and metal, their crews scrambling to regain control. But the humans were relentless. Every shot from Earth's fleet was precision, powered by the energy of the artifact. The Council's ships began to falter, their shields failing against the unprecedented intensity of Earth's weapons. Zoreth's fleet, once so imposing, was crumbling under the weight of the human assault. Panic spread among the ranks. Some commanders began to order retreats, but it was too late. Earth's fury had been unleashed, and there was no turning back. Above Earth, the space battle raged, but on the ground, humanity was also preparing for the next phase. The artifact's power wasn't just for the ships. It had strengthened every aspect of Earth's military infrastructure. Supercharged weapons were deployed in every major city, and defenses were erected around the globe. Humans had become the very force they had once feared, and they were ready to defend their planet at all costs. In the heat of the battle, Harris watched as one of the flagship's communication officers relayed information. "Sir, Zoreth's flagship is heavily damaged. We've disabled their main command systems. They're in full retreat." Harris felt a surge of triumph, but it was tempered by the gravity of the situation. This victory was only the beginning. The Galactic Council would not surrender easily. They would retreat, regroup, and come back with everything they had. "Prepare for Phase 2, Harris ordered, his voice firm. "We need to hit them hard while they're vulnerable. This battle isn't just about Earth. It's about proving to the galaxy that we are not to be underestimated. It's about showing the Council that the age of tyranny is over." As the human fleet pushed forward, the Galactic Council's remnants fled, their once pristine ships now in disarray. The tide had turned, but the war was far from over. Earth had struck back with fury, but the Council was not a foe that could be easily vanquished. They would return, no doubt, bigger, stronger, and more ruthless. But for now, Earth stood tall. The first victory had been theirs, and it sent a message across the galaxy. Humanity was not going to be the conquered. They had been underestimated, but no longer. The artifact's power still pulsed, resonating through the very heart of Earth. The human race, united by their struggle and their defiance, had shown the galaxy that they were not just survivors. They were fighters. And as long as Earth's heartbeat continued, humanity would rise again, ready to face whatever the galaxy threw their way. The Galactic Council had learned a harsh lesson. Never underestimate Earth, for the wrath of the planet was far more powerful than anyone had ever believed. The battle for survival had just begun. The final remnants of the galactic fleet scattered into the void of space, retreating in disarray, leaving behind only the echoes of their failure. The human fleet, battered but victorious, remained poised around Earth, a silent testament to the power of humanity's resilience. The Galactic Council had been given a brutal reminder. Earth was no longer a weak, defenseless planet. It was a force of nature, awakened and ready to fight. In the aftermath of the battle, Earth's victory rippled across the globe. The energy from the artifact continued to pulse, like the heartbeat of the planet itself, powering cities, farms, and industries that had once been destroyed or crippled. It was more than just a weapon. It was the foundation of a new era for humanity. People from all walks of life, once divided by borders and politics, now saw themselves as one unified species. The dream of a united Earth was no longer a fantasy. It was a reality. Dr. Amelia Drake stood on the balcony of the command center, looking out at the bustling city below. The streets, once abandoned in fear of the coming storm, were now alive with people celebrating their victory. She couldn't help but feel a sense of awe at what they had achieved. They had done the impossible. Against all odds, they had stood firm and pushed back the invaders who had once believed they could enslave them. But as the dust began to settle, there was no time to relax. The Galactic Council had been temporarily pushed back, but they were not defeated. Earth's survival was still in jeopardy, and the Council would undoubtedly return with a vengeance. They would regroup, rebuild, and come back stronger than before. Commander Harris joined Dr. Drake on the balcony, his eyes scanning the horizon. "We did it, Amelia," he said, his voice low, yet filled with an unshakable sense of pride. "We've sent them a message. Earth is not the same anymore." Dr. Drake nodded but didn't look at him. She was still focused on the horizon, as if searching for something more. "Yes, but this victory, as important as it is, doesn't guarantee anything. We've won a battle, not the war. The Council has far more resources than we can comprehend. They won't give up this easily. We have to be ready for what comes next." Harris sighed. He knew she was right. The battle they had fought and won was only the beginning. The Galactic Council would return, and they would bring with them the full force of their might. But Earth now had something that they hadn't before: unity, strength, and the power of the artifact. "Then we'll be ready," Harris said, his voice filled with determination. "We've only just begun." As the days turned into weeks, humanity prepared for the inevitable counterattack. They did not know when the Galactic Council would return, or in what form, but they would be ready. The artifact's power, once used for defense, was now integrated into every aspect of their military, technology, and infrastructure. It had unlocked possibilities no one had ever imagined. But as Earth strengthened its defenses, something even more unexpected happened. The artifact's energy seemed to take on a life of its own. It pulsed and resonated with an ancient force that no one could fully understand. Dr. Drake had been studying the artifact more closely than ever, and what she discovered both fascinated and terrified her. The artifact was not just an energy source or a weapon. It was a link, a connection to something far older than the Galactic Council, older than humanity itself. The more the humans tapped into its power, the more they realized they were not just fighting for Earth's survival. They were standing at the threshold of a greater cosmic shift. Earth had unknowingly become the epicenter of a galactic awakening. "We've triggered something, Commander," Dr. Drake said one evening as Harris walked into the lab. She looked up from the glowing screens, her face pale, her eyes wide with realization. "The artifact. It's connecting us to something far beyond the Council. I don't know what it is yet, but this isn't just about Earth. This is about the future of the galaxy itself." Harris stared at the screens, where strange symbols and patterns flickered across the surface. The energy readings were unlike anything he had seen before. It was as if the artifact had opened a gateway to an unknown force, one that was far more powerful than the Council ever dreamed of. "Are you saying that Earth isn't just a target for the Council?" Harris asked, his voice filled with disbelief. "We've just become part of something bigger." Dr. Drake nodded slowly. "Yes. I don't fully understand it yet, but we may have stumbled onto something that could reshape the galaxy. The artifact. It's not just a tool for destruction. It's a key, a doorway to something that existed long before the Council even formed. And if we're not careful, we could awaken forces that even the Galactic Council can't control." The implications of her words hung heavy in the air. Earth had become the center of a galactic battle. But now it seemed they were standing at the edge of an even greater mystery. Something ancient, something powerful, was stirring. The Council's invasion might have been just the first step in a larger cosmic conflict. With this realization, Harris knew that the future of Earth had taken a dramatic turn. The Council, although a fierce adversary, was no longer the only threat. They had opened a Pandora's box, and the universe beyond was watching, waiting. Whatever came next, Earth would not be facing just the Council. They would be facing something much bigger, something beyond their understanding. The next phase of humanity's journey had begun. Across the galaxy, the Council's leaders were already planning their return. They had been humiliated, but they were not broken. They would come back, stronger and more determined than ever. But Earth was no longer the weak, defenseless planet they had once known. The humans had proven their strength, their ability to fight, and they had unlocked a power that no one could have predicted. The battle for the future of the galaxy was just beginning, and Earth, the planet they had once thought to subjugate, would play a role that no one could have foreseen. The Galactic Council had made a grave mistake by underestimating humanity, and now they would face the consequences.